LPHS-Theater is a place of comfort, and we appreciate your support as we kick off the 24-25 season. At this time, we ask you to silence your cell phones and check the location of the nearest exit in case of emergency and enjoy the show. Through 5450 welcomes you to the importance of being earnest.
Did you hear how I was playing, Lane?
I didn't think you'd like to listen, sir.
I'm sorry for that, for your sake. I don't play accurately. Anyone can play accurately, but I play with wonderful expression. When it comes to the piano, sentiment is my forte. I say science for life.
Yes, sir.
And speaking of the science of life, have you got those cucumber sandwiches cut for Lady Bracknell yet?
Yes, sir.
By the way, Lane, I see from your books that last week when Lord Shorman and Mr. Worthing were dining with us, 8 bottles of champagne are entered as having been consumed.
Yes, sir. 8 bottles and a pint.
Why is that at a bachelor's establishment the servants invariably drink the champagne? Merely for information.
Sorry, sir. I attribute it to the fine quality of champagne, sir. Married households rarely have first-rate champagne.
Good heavens, is marriage so demoralizing as that?
I've actually heard that it is quite a pleasant state of being, sir. Though I've merely dabbled in it myself. Only a misunderstanding between me and a young person, sir.
Very natural, I'm sure. That'll do, Lane, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Lane's views on marriage seem somewhat lax. Really, if the lower orders don't set a good example, what's not is the use of them? They seem to, as a class, have absolutely no sense of moral responsibility.
Mr. Earnest Worthing, sir.
How are you, my dear Ernest? What brings you up to town?
Oh, pleasure, pleasure. What else brings one anywhere? Eating as usual, I see, Algie.
I believe it's customary in good society that some slight refreshment at 5 o'clock. Where have you been since last Thursday?
In the country.
What on earth do you do there?
So, well, when one is in town, one amuses oneself. When one is in the country, one must amuse others. It is excessively boring.
And who are the people you amuse?
Oh, neighbors. Neighbors.
Got nice neighbors in your part of Shropshire?
Perfectly horrid. Never speak to one of them.
By the way, Shropshire is your county, so not?
Shropshire? Yes, of course. Hello? Why all these cups? Why cucumber sandwiches? Why such reckless extravagance in one so young? Who's coming to tea?
Oh, nearly Aunt Augusta.
Ugh,
And Gwendolyn.
how perfectly delightful.
Yes, that's all very well, but I'm afraid Aunt Augusta won't quite approve of your being here.
May I ask why?
Dear fellow, the way you flirt with Gwendolyn is perfectly disgraceful. It's almost as bad as the way Gwendolyn flirts with you.
I have come up to town expressly with the purpose of proposing to her.
I thought you said you had come up for pleasure. I call that business.
How utterly unromantic you are.
There is nothing romantic in proposing. It is very romantic to be in love. But I can see nothing romantic about a definite proposal. One may be accepted. One usually is, I believe. Then the excitement is all over. The very essence of romance is uncertainty. If ever I get married, I'll certainly try to forget the fact.
I have no doubt about that, dear Algie. The divorce court was specially invented for people whose memories are so curiously constituted.
But there is no use speculating on that subject. Divorces were made in heaven. Please don't touch the cucumber sandwich today, or especially for Aunt Augusta.
But you have been eating them all the time.
I was quite a different matter, should have gone on. Yeah, have some bread and butter. Bread and butter for Gwendolyn. Gwendolyn is devoted to bread and butter.
And quite good bread and butter it is too.
Now, my dear fellow, you need not begin as if you were going to eat it all. You act as if you were married already. You are not married already, and I don't think you ever will be.
What on earth do you mean?
Well, in the first place, girls never marry men they flirt with. Girls don't think it's right.
So that's nonsense.
It isn't. It's a great truth. It counts the extraordinary number of bachelors one sees all over the place. In second place, I don't give my consent.
Your consent?
My dear Philip, Gwendolyn is my first cousin. Before I allow you to marry her, you must put the whole question to Cecily.
Cecily? What on earth do you mean? What do you mean, Algie by Cecily? I don't know anyone with the name of Cecily.
Bring me that cigarette case Mr. Weather left in the smoking room last time we dined here.
Yes, sir.
You mean to tell me you've had my cigarette case this whole time? I wish to goodness you had let me know. I've been waiting frantic letters to Scotland Yard about it. I was very nearly offering a large reward.
I wish you would. I happen to be more than usually hard up at the moment.
Well, there's no use offering a large reward now the thing is found. Now is there?
That's rather mean of you, Ernest, I must say. However, it makes no difference, for now that I look at the inscription inside, I find that the thing is not yours after all.
Of course it's mine. You've seen me with it 100 times, and you've no right whatsoever to read what is written inside. It is a very ungentlemanly thing to read what is written inside a private cigarette case.
Oh, it's absurd to have a hard and fast rule what one should and shouldn't read. Well, half modern culture depends on which one shouldn't read.
I don't disagree, and I don't propose to discuss modern culture. It is the sort of thing that one should talk of in private. I simply want my cigarette case back.
Yes, but this isn't your cigarette case. This cigarette case is a present from someone named Cecily. You said you didn't know anyone of that name.
Well, if you need to know, Cecily happens to be my aunt.
Your aunt?
Yes, charming old lady she is too. Lives at Tunbridge Wells. She's good back to me out.
Why does she call herself Little Cecily? She is your aunt who lives at Tunbridge Wells. From Little Cecily, with the fondest love.
My dear Algie, what on earth is there in that? Some aunts are tall, some aunts are not tall. That should be a matter for every aunt to be able to decide for herself. You seem to think that every aunt should be exactly like your aunt. It's absurd. For heaven's sake, give me back my cigarette case!
Why is she calling you her uncle if she is your aunt and lives at Tunbridge Wells? From Little Cecily, with the fondest love to her dear Uncle Jack. Now, there is no objection, I admit, to an aunt being a small aunt. My aunt, no matter what her size may be, call her own nephew or uncle. I can't quite make out. Besides, your name isn't Jack Doll, it's Ernest.
It isn't Ernest! It's Jack.
You always told me it was Ernest. I've introduced you to everyone as Ernest. You answered to the name of Ernest. You look as if your name was Ernest. The most earnest looking person I've ever seen in my life. It's absurd you're saying your name isn't Ernest. It's right here on your cards. Here's one of them. Mr. Earnest Worthing, B4, the Albany. I shall keep this as proof that your name is Ernest if ever you try to learn it to me, or to Gwendolyn, or to anyone else.
My name is Ernest in the town, and Jack in the country. And the cigarette case was given to me in the country.
Yes, but does not explain the fact that your small Aunt Cecily, who lives at Tunbridge Wells, calls you her uncle. Come on, boy, let's better the thing out at once.
My dear Algie, you speak exactly as if you were a dentist. It is a very vulgar thing to speak like a dentist when one isn't a dentist. It produces a false impression.
Well, that's exactly what dentists always do. Now go on, tell me, why are you Ernest in town and Jack in the country? Might I say that I've suspected you of being a confirmed and secret Bunburyist, and I'm quite sure of it now.
Bunburyist? What on earth do you mean by Bunburyist?
I will explain to you the meaning of that incomparable expression as soon as you're kind enough to inform me why you are Ernest in town and Jack in the country.
Well, produce my cigarette case first.
Here it is. Now produce your explanation, and pray, make it improbable.
My dear Algie, there is nothing improbable about my explanation. In fact, you'll find it most perfectly ordinary. The late Mr. Thomas Cardew, and the older man who adopted me when I was younger, left me in his will guardian to his granddaughter, Miss Cecily Cardew. And Cecily, for motives of respect that you cannot possibly understand, refers to me as her uncle. She lives at my place, under the watch of her admiral governess, Miss Prism.
Where is that place in the country, by the way?
You are not to know, you will not be invited. But I will tell you one thing, it is not in Shropshire.
Oh, I suspected that, my dear fellow. I have Bunbury all the Shropshire on 2 separate occasions. Now go on. Why are you Ernest in town and Jack in the country?
My dear boy, I do not know if you'll be able to understand my true motives. You are hardly serious enough. When one is placed in the position of guardian, one must adopt a certain high moral tone towards all subjects. And although a high moral tone does not conduce much to one's health or happiness, I've always pretended to have a younger brother of the name of Earnest, who lives in the Albany and gets into the most dreadful scrapes, so that I may escape to the town whenever I like. That is the whole truth, pure and simple.
The truth is rarely pure and never simple. Modern life would be very tedious if it were either. Modern literature, a complete impossibility.
It wouldn't be such a bad thing.
Literary criticism is not your forte, my dear fellow. Don't try it. Leave that to people who haven't been at university. They do it so well in the daily papers. What you really are is a bumburious. I was quite correct in saying you were bumburious. You're one of those advanced bumburious I know.
What on earth do you mean?
You've invented a very useful younger relic for yourselves. That way you may come to town as often as you like. I've invented an invaluable permanent invalid by the name of Bunbury, so that way I may go down to the country as often as I choose. Bunbury is perfectly invaluable. If it wasn't for Bunbury's extraordinarily bad health, for instance, I wouldn't be able to dine with you tonight at Willis's. For I really have been engaged to Aunt Augusta for more than a week now.
I've not invited you to dine anywhere tonight.
I know. You're absurdly careless about sending out invitations. It's very foolish of you. Nothing annoys people so much as not receiving an invitation.
But you'd better dine with your aunt tonight.
I have not the smallest intention of doing so. In the first place, I dine there on Monday, and once a week is quite enough to dine with one's own relations. In the second place, whenever I do dine there, I'm always treated as one of the family, put down with either no woman at all, or two. In the third place, I know perfectly well whom she will place me next to tonight. She will place me next to Mary Farquhar, who always flirts with her own husband across the dinner table. It is not very pleasant, and indeed not very decent, and that sort of thing is enormously on the increase. The amount of women in London who flirt with their own husbands is perfectly scandalous. It looks so bad. It is simply washing one's clean linen in public. Besides, that's not need to be a Bunbury, so I want to talk about Bunbury. I want to tell you the rules.
Just, I am not a Bunburyist. If Gwendolyn loves me and accepts me, then I'll kill my brother. I'll probably kill him anyway. Cecily's a little too much interested in him, so I'll kill my brother Ernest. That gets rid of him, and I suggest you do the same with your Mr. Invalid friend with that absurd name.
Nothing will induce me to part with Bunbury. If ever you get married, which seems to me extremely problematic, you would like to know Bunbury. Marriage without knowing Bunbury is a very tedious time of it.
If I love Gwendolyn and she's the only girl I ever saw, then I would certainly not want to know Bunbury.
Then your wife will. You don't seem to realize that in married life, 3 is company and 2 is none.
And that, my good sir, is the absurd theory that the French drama has been propounding us with for the last 50 years.
Yes, now the happy English almost proved in half the time.
So for heaven's sake, Algy, don't try to be cynical. It's perfectly easy to be cynical.
It isn't easy to be anything nowadays with all this beastly competition about. That must be Aunt Augusta. Only relatives or creditors ever ring in that Wagnerian manner. Now, if I get Aunt Augusta out of the way for 10 minutes of the opportunity of proposing to Gwendolyn, may I dine with you tonight at Willis's?
Sure, if you want to.
Yes, but you must be serious about it. I hate people who are not serious about meals. You're so shallow with them.
Lady Blackburn is Fairfax, sir.
Good afternoon, dear Algernon. I hope you're behaving very well.
I'm feeling very well, Aunt Augusta.
That's not quite the same thing. In fact, the two things rarely go together.
Dear me, you look smart.
I am always smart. Am I not, Mr. Worthing?
You're quite perfect, Miss Fairfax.
Oh, I hope I'm not that. It will leave no room for developments, and I intend to develop in many directions. I'm sorry if we are a little late, Algernon. I was obliged to call on dearly Park. I had been there since her poor husband's death. I never saw a woman so altered. She looks quite 20 years younger. And now I'll have some tea, and one of those nice cucumber sandwiches you promised me.
Yes, Aunt Augusta.
Won't you come and sit here, Gwendolyn? Oh, thanks, Mama. I'm quite comfortable where I am.
Good heavens, Lane, why are there no cucumber sandwiches? I ordered them specially.
There were no cucumbers in the market this morning, sir. I went down twice.
No cucumbers?
No, sir. Not even for ready money, sir.
That'll do, Lane, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I am greatly distressed, Aunt Augusta, about there being no cucumbers, not even for ready money.
It really makes no matter, Algernon. I had some conflicts with Lady Harbury, who seems to me to be living entirely in pleasure now.
Yes, I hear it has turned quite gold for grief.
It certainly has changed its colour. From what cause, I, of course, cannot say. Thank you. It's quite a treat for you tonight, Algernon. I'm going to send you down with Mary Farquhar. She's such a nice
Bracknell, Aunt Augusta.
I hope not, Algernon. It would put my table completely out. Your uncle would have to dine upstairs. Fortunately, he is accustomed to that.
It is a great bore, and I need hardly say, a terrible disappointment to me. But the fact of the matter is, I've just received a telegram to inform me my poor friend Bunbury is dreadfully ill again. They seem to think I should be with him.
It is very strange. This Mr. Bunbury seems to suffer from curiously bad health.
Yes, Bunbury is a dreadful invalid.
Well, I think it is high time that this Mr. Bunbury made up his mind whether he was going to live or to die. Shilly-shally on the question is absurd. Nor do I in any way approve of modern sympathy with invalids. I consider it morbid. Illness of any kind is hardly a thing to be encouraged in others. Health is the primary duty of life. I'm always telling that to your poor uncle, but he never seems to take much notice as far as any improvement in his ailment goes. But I would be much obliged if you would ask Mr. Bunbury from me not to have a relax on Saturday, for I rely on you to arrange my music for me. It is my last reception, and one wants something that will encourage conversation, particularly at the end of the season, when everyone has practically said all that they had to say, which in most cases is probably not much.
I will speak to Bunbury, Aunt Augusta. He is still conscious, and I think I can promise you that he'll be alright by Saturday. Of course, the music is of great difficulty. You see, when one plays good music, people don't listen. When one plays bad music, people don't talk. But I'll run through the program I've drawn out, if you'll kindly follow me into the next room for a moment.
Thank you. I'm sure the program will be delightful after a few expectations. French songs I cannot possibly allow. People always seem to think they are improper and either look shocked, which is vulgar, or laugh, which is worse. Gwendolyn, you will accompany me? Yes, certainly, Mamma. But German sounds a thoroughly respectable language. Indeed, I believe so.
Charming day to spend, Miss Fairfax.
Hey, don't talk to me about the weather, Mr. Worthing. Whenever people talk to me about the weather, I was still quite certain they mean something else, and that makes me so nervous.
I do need something else.
I thought so. In fact, I think they're wrong.
And I would like to be able to take advantage of Lady Bracknell's temporary absence.
Oh, I would certainly advise you to do so. Mamma has a way of coming back suddenly into a room that I've often had to speak to her about.
Gwendolyn, I have never loved anyone in the world as much as I've loved you since when I met you!
Yes, I'm quite well aware of that, and in public at any rate, I do wish you had been more demonstrative. For me, you've always had an irresistible fascination. Even before I knew you, I was far from indifferent to you. We live, as I hope you know, Miss Worthing, in an age of ideals. And my ideal has always been to love someone of the name Earnest. The moment Algernon mentioned me in a frank corner of Earnest, I knew. I was destined to love you.
Do you really mean to say you love me, Gwendolyn?
Passionately.
Darling, you don't know how happy you've made me. But you don't mean to say you couldn't love me if my name wasn't Earnest, right?
But your name is Ernest.
Yes, of course, but saying it's worth something else, do you mean to say you couldn't love me then?
Well, this is clearly a metaphysical speculation, and like most metaphysical speculations, has very little reference to the actual facts of real life as we know them.
To speak quite candidly, darling, I'm not much of a fan of the name of Earnest. I don't think it suits me at all.
It suits you perfectly. It's a divine name. It has a music of its own. It produces vibrations.
But I think there are other, much more charming names. I think Jack, for instance, a charming name.
Jack? No. There is very little music named Jack, if any at all indeed. It does not thrill. It produces absolutely no vibrations. I have known several Jacks, and they all, without exception, were more than usually plain. Besides, Jack is notoriously a substitute for John. And I pity any woman married to a man called John, for she would never be allowed to know the intrinsic pleasure of a single moment's solitude. So the only really safe name is Earnest.
Gwendolyn, I must get christened at once. I mean, one must get married at once. There's no time to lose.
Married, Mr. Weller?
Well, you know that I love you, and you let me believe that you are not totally indifferent to me.
I adore you, but you haven't proposed to me yet. Nothing has been said at all about marriage. The subject has not even been touched on.
May I propose to you now?
I think it would be an admirable opportunity. And to spare you any possible disappointment, I'm going to tell you beforehand that I'm fully determined to accept you.
Gwendolyn,
Yes, Mr. Worthing. What have you got to say to me?
you know what I've got to say to you.
Yes, but you don't say it.
Gwendolyn, will you marry me?
Well, so well, darling. How long have you been a baptist? I'm afraid you've got very little experience, and I'll propose.
My own darling, I will never love anyone in the world except for you.
Yes, I know. Well, men often propose for practice. I know my brother Gerald does. All my cousins done the same. What wonderfully blue eyes you have, Ernest. They are quite blue. I hope you will always look at me just as that, especially when there are other people present. Mr. Worthing! Rise, sir, from this semi-recumbent posture. It is most indecorous. Mamma, I must beg you to retire. This is not a place for you. Besides, Mr. Worthing is not quite finished yet. Finished what, may I ask? I'm engaged to be married to Mr. Worthing, Mamma. Pardon me. You are not engaged to anyone. When you do become engaged to someone, I or your father, should self permitted, will inform you of the fact. An engagement should come on younger as a surprise, pleasant or unpleasant as the case may be. It is hardly a matter that she could be allowed to arrange for herself. And now I have some questions to put to you, Mr. Worthing. While I'm making these inquiries, you, Gwendolyn, will wait for me below, in the carriage. Mamma, in the carriage, Gwendolyn. Yes, Mamma. You may take a seat, Mr. Worthing.
Thank you, Lady Bracknell. I prefer standing.
I feel bound to tell you that you are not down on my list of eligible young men. Although I have the same list as the dear Duchess of Bolton has. We work together, in fact. But I feel quite ready to enter your name should your answers be what a really affectionate mother requires. Do you smoke?
Well, yes, I must admit I do smoke.
I'm glad to hear it. A man should always have an occupation of some kind. There are far too many idle men in London as it is. How old are you?
29.
Very good age, you know that. I've always been of the opinion that a man who desires to get married should know either everything or nothing. Which do you know?
Well, Lady Bracknell, I must admit that I know nothing.
I am pleased to hear it. I do not approve of anything that tampers with natural ignorance. Ignorance is like a delicate, exotic fruit. Touch it and the bloom is gone. The whole theory of modern education is radically unsound. Fortunately, in England, at any rate, education produces no effect whatsoever. If it did, it would probably prove a serious danger to the upper classes and lead to acts of violence in Grosvenor Square. What is your income?
Between 7,000 and 8,000 a year.
In land or in investments?
Investments, chiefly.
That is satisfactory. What between the duties expected of one during one's lifetime and the duties enacted from one after one's death, land has ceased to be either a profit or a pleasure. It gives one position and prevents one from keeping it up. That's all that can be said about land.
Well, I do in a country house.
A country house? How many bedrooms?
17.
That point will be cleared up afterwards. You have a townhouse, I hope.
Oh, well.
A girl with a simple, unspoiled nature, like Gwendolyn, could hardly be expected to reside in the country.
But yes, I do own a townhouse. It is let out to the years of Lady Bloxham. I can give it whenever I want, of course, at 6 months' notice.
Lady Bloxham? I don't know her.
Oh, she goes about very little. She's a lady considerably advanced in years.
Ah, nowadays it is no guarantee of respectability of character. What number in Belgrave Square?
149.
The unfashionable side. I thought there was something, but that could easily be altered.
Do you mean the fashion or the side?
Both, if necessary, I presume. What are your politics?
Oh, well, I'm afraid I really have none. I'm a liberal unionist.
Oh, they count as Tories. They dine with us, or come in the evening at any rate. Now, to minor matters, are your parents living?
I have lost both my parents.
To lose one parent, Mr. Worthing, may be regarded as a misfortune. To lose both looks like carelessness. Who was your father? He was evidently a man of some wealth. Was he born a
Well, you see, Lady Bracknell, I said I'd lost my parents, but it should be more accurate to say it seems my parents seem to have lost me. You see, I was found.
Found?
Yes, found. The late Mr. Thomas Cardew, an older man of a kindly disposition, found me and gave me the name Worthing because he had a first-class ticket to Worthing in his pocket. Worthing is a place in Sussex, a seaside resort.
Where did this charitable gentleman with a first-class ticket to a seaside resort find you?
A handbag.
A handbag?
Yes, a purple handbag with spirals on it, somewhat large, with handles. A perfectly ordinary handbag.
Where did this Mr. James or Thomas Cardew come across this ordinary handbag?
It was given to him in mistake for his own at the cloakroom at the Victoria Station.
The cloakroom at Victoria Station?
Yes, the Brighton line.
The line is immaterial, Mr. Worthing. To be born, or at any rate bred, in a handbag, whether it had handles or not, seems to me to display contempt for the ordinary decencies of family life and reminds one of the worst excesses of the French Revolution. And I'm sure you know that unfortunate what this led to. As for the particular locality in which the handbag was found, a cloakroom at a railway station might serve to conceal a social indiscretion. Has probably indeed been used for that purpose before now, but it can hardly be regarded as a sure basis for a recognized position in good society.
Lady Bracknell, what would you suggest that I do? I need not say that I would do anything to ensure Gwendolyn's happiness.
I would advise you, Mr. Worthing, to try and acquire some relations as soon as possible, and to make a definite effort to produce at any rate one parent of either sex before the season is quite over.
But Lady Bracknell, I don't quite see how it's possible. I can produce you the handbag at any moment. It is at my country house in my dresser. I really think that should satisfy you.
Me, sir? What has it to do with me? You can hardly think that I and Lord Bracknell will allow our only daughter, a girl brought up with the utmost care, to marry into a cloakroom and form an alliance with a parcel. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Afternoon.
Goodness, Algie, stop it with that ghastly tune! How idiotic you are!
Well, there's no off all right, old boy. You don't mean to say Gwendolyn refused you, do you?
Oh, that is the way she is. She's always refusing people. I think it most ill-natured of her.
Oh, no. Gwendolyn is as right as a trivet. According to her, we are engaged. It's a mother. Never met such a gorgon! I'm not quite sure what a gorgon looks like or acts like, but I'm sure she's one! She's a monster without myth anyway, and I'm sorry, Archie, I suppose I shouldn't talk to you about your own art like that.
My dear fellow, I love hearing my relations abused. The only thing that makes me put up with them at all. Relations are simply tedious pack of people who haven't got the remotest knowledge about how to live, nor the faintest idea about when to die.
Stop trying to argue about things. You always want to argue about things.
That's exactly what things were originally made for.
Upon my word, if I felt that Algie, you don't think there's any possibility of Gwendolyn turning out like her mother in about 150 years, do you?
All women become like their mothers. That's their tragedy. No man does. That's his.
Was that clever?
It was perfectly phrased. It's as true as any statement in modern can be.
I am sick to death of cleverness. Everywhere you go, you meet clever people, saying clever things and doing clever things. I wish to goodness we had a good few fools left.
We have.
We do? I would certainly like to meet them. What do these fools discuss of?
Fools? Or about the clever people, of course.
What fools?
By the way, did you tell Gwendolyn the truth about your being Earnest in town and Jack in the country?
Dear boy, that isn't the sort of thing that one springs upon a nice, sweet, refined girl like Gwendolyn. What absurd ideas you have of the way to behave to a woman.
The only way to behave to a woman is to make love to her if she is pretty, and to another if she is plain.
Oh, that is nonsense.
What about your brother? What about the profligate Earnest?
Oh, I'll say he died abroad. I'll say he was carried off in Paris by apoplexy. Lots of people die of apoplexy, right, and quite suddenly.
Yes, but it's heredity, my dear fellows. The sort of thing that runs in families. You'd much better say a severe chill.
Are you sure severe chill isn't hereditary?
Of course it isn't.
All right, then that settles it. My brother Ernest is carried off in Paris by severe chill.
But I thought you said your ward was a little too much interested in him. Don't you feel his loss a great deal?
Oh, Cecily is not a silly, romantic girl. No, she's got a capital appetite, enjoys going on long walks, never pays attention to her lessons.
I should much like to meet Cecily.
I'll make certain that you never do. She is excessively pretty, and not only to mention that she is only 18.
You mentioned to Gwendolyn yet that you have an excessively pretty ward who's only just 18.
My dear fellow, Gwendolyn and Cecily are certain to become best friends. I'll bet you anything that you like that after half an hour of meeting each other, they'll be calling each other sister.
Girls only call each other that after they call each other a great many other things first. Now, if we want to get a good seat at Willis's, we really ought to go and dress. You realize that it's nearly 7.
Oh, it's always nearly 7.
Yes, well, I'm hungry.
Never knew you when you weren't.
What shall we do after we eat? Shall we go to the theater?
Oh, no. I loathe listening.
Shall we go to the club?
Oh, no, I hate talking.
Shall we trot round to the Empire at 10?
Oh, no, I despise looking at things. It's so silly.
Well, then what shall we do?
Nothing.
There's an awful lot of work doing nothing. However, I don't mind work, but there's no definite object of any kind.
Miss Fairfax, sir.
Gwendolyn, on my way.
Algy, kindly turn your back. There's something very particular to say to Mr. Worthing.
Now really, Gwendolyn, I don't think I can
Algy,
allow...
you always adopt such a strictly moral attitude towards life. You're not quite old enough to do that yet.
Gwendolyn, my darling.
Honest, we may never be married. From the expression of Mama's face, I fear we never shall. Few parents nowadays give any regard to what the children say to them, and the old-fashioned respect for the young is fast dying out. Whatever influence I held over Mama, I lost by the age of 3. But although she may prevent us from becoming man and wife, and I may marry someone else, and marry often, nothing she could do could ever alter my eternal devotion to you.
My own darling.
The story of your romantic origin as related to me by Mama with unpleasing comments has naturally stirred the deeper fibers of my nature. Your Christian name has an irresistible fascination, and the simplicity of your character makes you exquisitely incomprehensible to me. Your town address now that I have. What is the address of the country?
The Manor House, Woolton, Hertfordshire.
There's good postal service, I suppose. It may be necessary to do something desperate. That, of course, will require serious consideration. I will communicate with you daily. How long do you really come?
Till Monday.
Good. Algy, you may turn around now.
Thanks, I've turned around already.
You may also ring the bell.
May I walk you to your carriage, my own darling?
Of course.
I will see Miss Fairfax out.
Yes, sir.
A glass of sherry, Lane.
Yes, sir.
Tomorrow, Lane, I'm going to Bunbury.
Yes, sir.
You can pack up... I don't think I should be back till Monday. You can pack up all the dress clothes, smoking jackets, and all the Bunbury suits.
Yes, sir.
Tomorrow will be a fine day, Lane.
It never is, sir.
Lane, you're a perfect pessimist.
I do my best to give satisfaction, sir.
There's a sensible, intellectual girl. The only girl I've ever loved in my entire life. What on earth are you so amused about?
Oh, I'm just worried about poor Bunbury, that's all.
You'd better take good care of your friend Bunbury, or else he might get you into a serious scrape one day.
I love scrapes. They're the only thing that's never serious.
So, You always speak nonsense. All you ever do is speak nothing but nonsense.
No one ever does.